Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. This year, 2024, is our very first time watching and following the NASCAR season. So since this is very new to us still, I wanted to take a little bit of a closer look at the three top national series, find a little bit more about them, the different cars that they drive, the playoff seasons, and a little bit more of their background. So I decided to make a quick little video comparing the three national series. So let's just get right into it. First up is the Cup Series, which is the most top elite level of NASCAR that you can drive. Potentially you can drive, or I can drive. Maybe not really, but it's definitely the most elite level of NASCAR. It was created in 1949 as a strictly stock car series, and it really put NASCAR racing on the map of motorsports in general. It went through different iterations of names based on the different types of sponsors that they had. However, the current iteration is the NASCAR Cup Series with premier sponsors such as Coca-Cola, Busch Beer, Geico, and Xfinity. The Cup Series races all across the United States on short tracks, intermediate tracks, super speedways, and road courses. Actually, in 2023 was the first time when they drove on a road course in Chicago. After a full season of the Cup Series, we have, of course, the playoffs. So 16 drivers qualify for the playoffs, and they get dwindled down from 16 to 12 to 8 till the championship 4, and that final championship race will then crown the NASCAR Cup Series winner. The first ever winner of the NASCAR Cup Series was Red Byron in 1949, the year of the creation of the Cup Series. And the people or the drivers with the most titles are Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and Jimmy Johnson. The three of them are tied for the most titles with 7 titles each, which is quite impressive. And currently we have several drivers on the grid who have already won championships, including Kyle Busch, who has 2 titles. We also have Joey Logano with 2 titles. Then we have Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., and Ryan Blaney, who all also have 1 title. So let's talk a little bit more about the car that is actually driven during a Cup Series event. So it started off with a slightly modified stock car, which has now transitioned into a fully purpose-built race car. The current iteration of the car, which is the 7th gen essentially of the vehicle, is a fuel-injected V8 engine. It produces around 670 horsepower for majority of the races. However, Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta have a reduced horsepower output for safety reasons. What makes the Cup car a little bit different than your regular street car? As mentioned, of course, it's purpose-built for the purpose of racing, but it also has rear-wheel drive, which is, of course, not very common in a street car. And usually a street car has 5 wheel nuts. However, the NASCAR Cup Series vehicle, the next gen vehicle, has only 1 single wheel nut. And the Toyota Cup Series vehicles are modeled after the Chevy Camaro, the Ford Mustang, as well as the Toyota Camry in its current edition. Now, moving on to the second level of the National NASCAR Series, which is the Xfinity Series. Typically, that's a stepping stone for up-and-coming NASCAR drivers to really prove themselves and then hopefully eventually make it up until or into the Cup Series. From what I've seen online, the Xfinity Series was created in 1982. However, of course, back in the day, it wasn't called the Xfinity Series, just like the Cup Series. It went through a bunch of different iterations of names based on their sponsors. However, now, currently, it is named the Xfinity Series. And it has been the Xfinity Series since 2014. Now, the Xfinity Series also is hosted on the same racetracks as the Cup Series. However, they race fewer laps, and the type of car is a little bit different. Now, the playoffs are a little bit different than the Cup Series. So instead of 16 people making it to the playoffs start with only 12 drivers. Then they get dwindled down to 8 to then the final championship for racers, who then, after the final race, will crown the Xfinity Series champion. Jack Ingram was the very first driver to win the Xfinity Series in 1982 with the number 11 Pontiac, and he's one of only 9 drivers who have won 2 championships in the Xfinity Series. Other names include Dale Earnhardt Jr., Martin Truex Jr., and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., to name just a few. Now let's talk a little bit more about the car that is driven in the Xfinity Series. It used to be somewhat close to the Cup Series vehicle. However, especially since the next-gen car has been released for the Cup Series, the Xfinity car is quite different nowadays. For example, as mentioned, the Cup Series car has only one wheel lug nut. However, the Xfinity car still has the traditional 5. The horsepower for an Xfinity Series car is about 650 horsepower, and it is a 4-speed manual transmission. The car models currently being used for the Xfinity Series are the Chevy Camaro, the Ford Mustang, as well as the Toyota Supra. Now, moving on to the third national series of NASCAR, which is the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, which was founded in 1995, in which they drive modified pickup trucks. And this series is usually the one where new NASCAR drivers make their national debut. And I'm sure you've witnessed the recent historic win of Raja Caruth, who is only the 3rd African-American driver to ever win a national NASCAR race. Originally in the Craftsman Truck Series, the races only took place on the West Coast on short tracks. However, nowadays they also race on speedways, and the series schedule is somewhat similar to the Xfinity as well as Cup Series schedule. And before I forget to mention, of course, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series has gone through many different name iterations throughout its years since 1995. However, in 2023, it returned to the name of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. For the Truck Series playoffs, only 10 drivers make it into the playoffs. Then that field gets dwindled down to 8, and then to the championship 4, who will then race in the final race of the season to crown the championship winner. Mike Skinner is the first racer to ever win a NASCAR Truck Series championship in 1995, and Ron Hornaday Jr. is the driver with the most championship wins of a total of 4. Now, let's talk a little bit about the car that they drive. So they do actually drive what looks like a pickup truck with a closed bed in the back. However, it is a very specifically purpose-built race car. So it's not a pickup truck that you can just buy at a dealership. The truck engines produce about 450 horsepower. It is a rear-wheel drive vehicle with a 4-speed manual transmission. And just like the Xfinity Series, it does have 5 of the wheel lug nuts. And the current truck models that the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series vehicles are modeled after are the Chevy Silverado, the Ford F-150, and the Toyota Tundra. Now, I hope you know now a little bit more about the 3 different national series of NASCAR. However, I personally didn't know that NASCAR does not only drive in the US. Yes, of course, it is the great American race. However, it does also race in 10 different countries. So overall, NASCAR organizes 1,200 races across 10 countries in 11 sanctioned official NASCAR series, including 4 international series, which include NASCAR Brazil, NASCAR Canada, NASCAR Mexico, as well as the NASCAR Milan Europe series. So this wraps up this NASCAR comparison video talking about the 3 different national series of NASCAR with a little sprinkle of NASCAR International at the end. I hope you learned something. I definitely learned a lot during my research, and it gives me a little bit more of an understanding of NASCAR going into the next races. Please let me know in the comments below if you have a series that you prefer. Do you, of course, like the elite level with the Cup Series, or is maybe like in many other types of sports and races, maybe one of the, I wouldn't maybe call it junior categories, but maybe it's the Craftsman Truck Series a little bit more interesting because people are competing to make it to the final level, just like some people prefer college football over the NFL just because there's a little bit more passion and grit and more oomph to it. So please let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite series, and even if you have a favorite driver that you think I should keep an eye out during the next races. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in and for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and per usual, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.